South India. Celebrations in one of India's most lush and verdant states, Kerala, where elephants race in the streets. Where the warm and fertile heavens produce an endless array of magically spiced foods. I'm going to begin my journey in the coastal mountains of Kerala. The word Kerala means the land of coconuts, but this land is much more than that. It's the land of spices. Turmeric grows here, ginger, cardamom, and the king of spices, black pepper. In fact, traders have been coming here since ancient times. Christopher Columbus was searching for Kerala when he discovered America. So battles have been fought over this land. Kingdoms have been won and lost. It's a very precious piece of territory. Kerala produces 95% of all the black pepper grown in India, and most of it is grown on very small farms of 5 acres or less. These are black pepper vines. They really are vines. They can climb up the trunk of any tree. As long as the trunk is rough, they'll climb up it. Of course, black pepper used to be one of the most valuable spices. It used to be as precious as gold. And these are peppercorns. They're green at the moment, green peppercorns, but they will be dried, and as soon as they're dried, they turn into black peppercorns. Black pepper is brought here from the small farms to dry, and what these women and I are doing here is sorting the black pepper. They're little sticks and stones and stems which have to be taken out. Of course, this can all be done mechanically, and it can be done in no time at all, but this is the traditional way to do it, and many people still do it this way. But even more valuable are Kerala's rare aromatics like nutmeg, cinnamon, or cardamom. This is a cardamom forest. The saplings grow into these towering plants. The work is very labor-intensive because cardamom grows very near the bottom and it has to be picked by hand. The pods look like this. Now all that needs to be done is for them to be picked and then dried. It imparts an aroma so fine and delicate that it can be used for both savories and sweets. Turmeric is a rhizome, just like ginger. It grows underground and has to be dried. This is what gives many Indian foods their yellow color. And from turmeric is also extracted the coloring that goes into your cheeses and butter. Of course, all these spices are as fundamental to an Indian meal as tea is in Britain. Both grow on these hills in abundance. Here at the Arunachal estate, they have tea as well as spices. The women behind me are picking tea. Here's a well where the women are drawing water. I'm going to be making a wonderful lamb dish for you, lamb encrusted with spices. It's called Erachi Ullatha. And the things that you need for it are coconuts, ginger, garlic, shallots, chilies, and a whole range of spices that need to be roasted first. So in here, there's a little bit of oil. Into it goes cinnamon, a little bit. About 15 cloves go in. 4 tablespoons of coriander. About 6 red chilies. About a tablespoon of peppercorns. Half teaspoon of cumin seeds. A teaspoon and a half of fennel seeds. And about 6 cardamom pods. And I'm just going to stir them around until they're lightly roasted. Roasting the spices heightens their flavor and gives them a nuttier taste. And once this is done, you take it off the fire and grind the spices. For the next stage, there are 3 tablespoons of oil in the wok. Into that goes about a teaspoon of whole mustard seeds. They're going to start popping. And then some curry leaves. Now, these are fresh leaves. They're wonderful. They're used a lot in the south and they make a lot of noise. Then in go 3 ounces of shallots. I'm going to stir them for a bit. And in go 5 or 6 cloves of garlic chopped. And about an inch of ginger that has been shredded. I'm going to let this cook till the shallots are browned. The next thing is to put in the meat. This is about a kilo of lamb. It's boneless and in it goes. And the spice mixture that I roasted and ground earlier, that goes in as well. And all this can be stirred around for a bit. To the meat, I'm going to add 5 ounces of coconut chips, which have been fried with a little turmeric and salt. In they go. And about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. And about 1.25 pints of water. Just mix it lightly. And then cover it, bring it to a boil, turn down the heat and let it cook very gently for about 1.25 hours. Once the meat is tender, I need to add a final flavoring. I have a tablespoon of oil in here. Into it goes 1 teaspoon of mustard seeds, they'll pop, and I'll put in some curry leaves for added aroma and some shallots. Stir this around till the shallots are lightly browned. You just pour them into this, stir that around, and the dish is ready. This spicy dish, erachi ulatha, may be eaten with plain boiled rice or with appams, a wonderful bread from this region. High in these hills, amongst the tea and spice plantations, is another pleasure, this one for the eye. It's one of India's many wildlife reserves. It's early morning in the Periyar Sanctuary. The Periyar Sanctuary is right in the midst of the Western Ghats, which are hills that rise from the Arabian Sea. A river was dammed about 100 years ago, and a game reserve has now been built around it. So we have here now about 40 tigers, 600 elephants, and about 160 species of birds. The elephants are having their breakfast. Of course, they have to clean off the grass first. Wouldn't you do the same thing? They have to eat for about 15 hours every single day to feed their stomachs. Well, we humans need to fill our stomachs too. And what better place to cook and eat than the beginning of the Keralan backwaters? I'm standing in the midst of Kerala's beautiful countryside in front of a traditional 150-year-old Keralan home, and I'm going to make you a countryside chicken curry, Nadan Kodi Kuta. You can use any wild fowl for this. Now, in this wok, there are about 4 tablespoons of hot oil. Into that, I'm going to put 2 medium-sized sliced onions. And I'm going to stir and fry them till they soften. Now, this will take about 4 or 5 minutes. While this happens, I'm going to make 2 spice pastes. First, I'll take about 1/2 inch of ginger and 5 cloves of garlic, throw them into a liquidizer with a little water, and get a paste like this. Then, I'm going to take 12 chili peppers, a tablespoon of cumin seeds, a tablespoon of black peppercorns, 3 cloves, a little cinnamon, some cardamoms too, and a little salt. Grind them into a powder in a coffee grinder. Throw all of that into a liquidizer with coconut, 5 ounces of coconut and a little water, and blend them till I have a paste which looks like this. Now, my onions are almost done. Into this is going to go the ginger garlic paste and some turmeric and some salt. And I shall stir this all around very briefly. Then in goes about 1.5 pounds of chicken. And I shall stir this around for a bit. Now this has to cook for about 10 or 15 minutes. After 10 or 15 minutes, add 2 chopped up tomatoes. Stir them around for a bit, just like so. Then you take all that wonderful spice paste that you made, put all that in. Stir that around as well. It looks wonderful. Now put in about a pint of water. Bring it to the boil and let it cook for another 10 or 15 minutes or until it's done. While the chicken has been cooking, I've fried some shallots till they were brown and crisp. And I'm going to take these and put them into the chicken like this. Scatter them all over and then stir them in. And that's it. The country chicken curry is finished. For centuries, most of the spices that are used in the country chicken have made their way down the luxuriant network of backwaters to Kerala's main port, Cochin. The Mattancherry area of Cochin is where traders from America, Europe, China and Arabia came to take the treasures home. The trading floor of the local stock exchange is no more than a corridor, but the frenetic activity as the spice prices are announced is worthy of Wall Street. This is the futures market. A lot of yelling and screaming for black pepper. And just look, lorries full of spices coming in every few seconds. I'm traveling the same route that traders have traveled for centuries and centuries. The Arabian Sea is on one side of me. These are the backwaters going inland, and the land behind me is now called Fort Cochin, but this is this place where everyone landed. The Portuguese came here, the Dutch came here, the English came here, but long before them, it was the Chinese who came here for trade, and they left a marvelous legacy behind. These fishing nets, they are of very old origin, and they're like giant spiders that go into the sea, dig out fish. They may have the appearance of ancient relics, but they are supremely effective, and fishermen use them every day of the year, except in the monsoon season. This is Munambam Fishing Harbour just outside of Cochin. It's a very busy harbour. Kerala has nearly 600 kilometers of coastline, and thousands of boats go out empty at about 3 in the morning and come back loaded to the gills. Whatever they bring back, be it squid or shrimp or succulent pomfret, it is auctioned off as soon as the boat touches land. The big fish, like these huge rays, and the best of prawns, crabs and lobsters are sold for export. Local villagers can generally afford only the little fish. And what is more, right next to the harbour, you can not only buy fresh fish and seafood, you can get it cooked, all within minutes of it being landed. Could I have half a kilo of these tiger prawns? How much? 100. Okay, give me half a kilo.
100. Half kilo prawns.
I'm going to take it next door for frying. Excuse me, this is where you fry the fish. You fry this for me. Not the masala, but don't cook it too much. He's putting in a little oil, and then the prawns, they're peeled. Now some garlic, just lightly crushed. Salt. And his special spice mixture. This is the good turmeric stuff. And cayenne. It's just a quick saute, isn't it? This looks absolutely delicious. I'm in heaven. Kathakali is one of Kerala's and India's most ancient and spectacular art forms. But foods are never far away. Developed over centuries, their astonishing makeup is made from edible ingredients like butter, and coconut and vegetables. It too is an art form and takes years to learn and hours to apply. This classical dance drama, where the myths and legends of the great Hindu epics are brought to life, is usually performed in the light of a single flickering temple lamp. The dancers never speak, so they're trained from childhood to mime the stories with an elaborate language of hand and facial gestures. Even small movements can convey powerful emotions. What a stunning spot. This is where one of the many backwaters in Kerala comes to join the Arabian Sea. And behind me are prawn farms. They're prawn farms in this season, but during the monsoon seasons, the water here is fresh, not salty as it's now, and they turn into paddy fields. It's incredible. The same piece of land performs two functions. Now I'm going to cook for you something that's also grown on the land around here. It's a spinach toran. For this, I need 3 cups of tightly packed, finely sliced spinach. And all this goes into a wok. I put in some water. It has to steam. So I'm going to cover it and let it cook just till the steam comes up. Meanwhile, I'll prepare the spice paste. There's about a cupful of freshly grated coconut here. 2 or 3 cloves of garlic, 2 or 3 shallots all chopped up, 2 or 3 green chilies chopped up, ½ teaspoon of salt and ¼ teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And I take all these and put them into a blender with 2 or 3 tablespoons of water till I have a fine paste. And the paste should look a little bit like this. And once the paste is ready, the next step is to put it with the spinach. And there's a very interesting technique. This is the toran technique. You make a well like that, put all the spice paste in the center, then you cover it with the spinach. Like that. You bury it. And once it's buried, I'm going to cover it again and let it steam for another couple of minutes while I make the final touch, which is the tempering. I put 2 teaspoons of oil in a small frying pan. Into it go about 1.5 teaspoons of mustard seeds. Some rice. It's unusual, isn't it? Rice. Stir that around. Rice turns white. In it go curry leaves, some shallots and green chilies. Stir it all around quickly. That's all there is to it. So when the spices are done, all I have to do is take them over to the spinach, pour them in, and mix it all in. See how beautiful it is, green and white, with these little grains of rice and mustard seeds. It's a very easy dish to prepare. I'm going to just put a little coconut over the top like this to make it look pretty, and that's all there is to it. Our perfect dish to complement the spinach toran is fried plantain chips. You have to use green cooking plantains. They have to be peeled with a knife, and once they're peeled, they look like this. And what I'm going to do, I have a wok filled with oil. You can use coconut oil, which would be more authentic, or ordinary oil. And all I do is slice. See how I'm doing it? You can use a mandolin, you can use any kind of slicing gadget like so. Stir them for a bit. And I have some special water which has a little turmeric, a little salt, and a little asafoetida. Ooh. Nice big whoosh. Into the same oil, I'm going to throw in some fresh curry leaves and some green chilies. And you let those fry as well. And then they're done. I hope it's good. I'm going to try it out on one of the dancers. He looks ferocious. Would you mind trying this, please? Does he like it? He likes it. The gods like it. Coconut is such an important part of Kerala cooking, and it's not surprising because almost everyone has at least 2 palms in their back garden. Once the coconuts are harvested, every part is used. The husks are removed on a stick. The inside is then dried and can be used to make coconut oil. It can also be scraped and grated and used in cooking. The outer shell has to be soaked and go through many stages before it can become coir, the byproduct from which your front door mat is probably made. In this beautiful dappled yard where I could spend all day in a hammock, these women take the coir which has been soaked and then they start spinning it into string. The Manon people once lived deep in the jungle, living entirely off its natural resources. Even today, they find much of their food from the forest. Wild yams from the earth, honey for sweetness, and a whole range of wild spices which are probably the forebears of the cultivated spices we use today. This is a jackfruit. It's one of the largest fruits in the world. It can grow up to 10 pounds. In its green form, it's a delicious vegetable. The flesh can be chopped and cooked in many ways, but today the Manon are going to use just the seeds, which have the texture and taste of green almonds. Once the fruit is prepared, they make a paste with fresh turmeric, fresh green chilies and garlic. A mixture of fresh chilies, the jackfruit seeds and dried red chilies is added to water. The spice paste is then added to the mixture. It's brought to the boil and salt is added. It's then covered and left to cook for 10 minutes. The Manon have their own religion, which combines ancient animism with Hinduism. Their ritual dances pay homage to the spirits of the forest. Such a strenuous dance, I'm sure everybody's hungry. I certainly am. I'm going to try the jackfruit. It's nutty, fresh, hot, and wonderful. For most Keralites, it is the massive inland waterway system that provides food and a living. These backwaters go on for hundreds of miles. And near the town of Kottayam in the southern half of Kerala, they open out into the longest expanse of water in India, Lake Vembanad. Now this is really a lagoon, not a lake. It's a huge body of water which connects all the way down to Cochin. These boatmen go out every day, they fish, they use the boat to transport rice, to transport bricks, but while they're working they also have to eat. And this man is making the famous boatman's curry. He's grinding the spices for it. The ingredients in the paste that he's grinding are dried red chilies, turmeric, chili powder, coconut, coriander seeds, and ground coriander. The spice paste has now gone into salted boiling water. Now in goes some green chilies, some shallots, curry leaves, and some ginger. Now he puts the cut-up fish into the bubbling spices. This is a very special earthenware pot. It breathes, and cooked fish will stay in it for about a week. The pot is now covered. It's ready. Life on Kerala's backwaters revolves entirely around the canals and rivers. These are the pathways and roads for the people who live along their banks, just as they are to the inhabitants of Venice. The water is kitchen sink and bathroom. It's the means of getting your goods from A to B. It's the only way to get to work. And for children, it's a place to fish, to play, and to go to school. The main business for everyone who lives along the waters is fishing, and for these fishermen, the method of getting their catch is highly original. Two men swim through the water with ropes tied to their waists. The rope has little white flags attached to it. As they move along, the rope disturbs the curry mean fish and they dive into the mud at the bottom. Now comes the most extraordinary part. A diver then enters the water and grabs the curry mean from the bottom, quickly swims to the surface and throws it into the boat. I'm now going to buy some of the freshly caught curry mean, straight from the fisherman. Can I buy 2 fish? Okay, just put the fish in here. All right, I'll take 3. Here you are. Thank you. Here I am, floating down one of the many backwaters in Kerala in a rice boat. And right here, I'm going to show you how to cook one of the fish that we caught earlier. It's the curry mean that we had caught. It's sitting over here, marinating in salt and turmeric. Into 4 tablespoons of oil, go 2 medium red onions, about 6 green chilies which have been sliced, about 1 inch of ginger, fresh ginger, julienne, and about 20 to 30 curry leaves. They give a wonderful flavor. Now I'm just going to stir this until they are lightly sautéed. Then you add about 3 teaspoons of salt, a generous pinch of turmeric, and about 5 fluid ounces of water. Into this, I'm going to lay in the fish. Spoon some of the sauce over the fish, like so, so the flavor gets all the way in. Then cover and let it cook for 4 or 5 minutes. Instead of the curry mean that they use here, you could use sole or steaks of any firm-fleshed fish, such as kingfish. Now this fish looks as if it's almost done. I'm going to take the lid off and add the final touches, which is 7 fluid ounces of coconut milk and about a tablespoon of lime juice. And the fish can't be stirred too much now, so I'm just going to spoon it over the top like this. And if you like, you could even add a few drops of coconut oil. And then the dish is done. One of the nicest ways to serve curry mean moili is simply with rice and maybe a tomato and onion salad. Every part of India has a dish, a vegetable or a fruit that in some way characterizes a place and cuisine. Here, for centuries, it's been coconut and a wealth of spices. I've been completely won over by the charms of this tropical Venice. All of nature has been beautiful, and so has the food.